right on 7:30, so we'll get it started. Tim, what do you got for us today?
A video from an artist named, should come up here.
Fantastic. One announcement before I turn it over to Al. I got an email and had a phone conversation with Eleanor late last week, and she is stepping away from the club. She has some family stuff that she needs to take care of. I did have a conversation with Barb, and Barb and I have decided that we are going to keep Eleanor on as an honorary member in the meantime. This way she can continue to keep the emails and join us when she can. She just can't commit full time to being able to stay at the meetings 100%. So with that, let's pass over to Al.
Thank you, President Dean. And good morning to all of our Rotarians. A warm welcome. Special welcome to our guest speaker, Officer Phillips. It's nice to see you here this morning. You're going to be properly introduced shortly, and we're looking forward to hearing from you. I just want to touch on a couple things this morning. First of all, I want to thank everybody for the weekend, for the bottle drive. I know Doug is going to have a lot more to say about this, but it was wonderful to actually meet some of our new members in person. And my wife had a broken ankle for a year, and then just as she was getting back on her feet, COVID hit. So for 2.5 years, she really hasn't really gone anywhere. And she thought it was wonderful to be able to sit and talk face to face with people. It was really good. Just a couple of quick things. John, good morning. And we have Sharon, good morning. Nice to see you. Welcome this morning. I noticed this morning we have a new $2 Canadian coin, and it commemorates the 100 years of the anniversary of the discovery of insulin in Canada. Looking forward to seeing that new $2 coin. Things are coming. We're coming out of this, and things are starting to happen. Past President Ann Kell, and we all know that you are a farmer, and I just wanted your comments on the weather and the corn. Could you please comment on that?
I would love to, Al. Thank you. Actually, I know we've had more than enough rain, but Our corn crop is well above my head now. It's all tasseling. It's easily 2 to 3 weeks ahead of time. So as farmers like to say, we don't count it till it's in the bin, but it's looking good.
Thank you, Ann. And President Dean, just in closing, I just wanted to mention everyone's aware of the big funeral in Toronto the other day. And many years ago, my partner in Toronto was Ted Bayless. We worked all close together, and his son was a young police officer, and he was shot in the line of duty and he was killed. The funeral started at Bayview and Steeles in Toronto, and it went over to Yonge and Steeles, and it was the biggest funeral I'd ever seen. It was the biggest funeral the Toronto Police had ever seen at the time, but it brought back memories over the last little while. And the chief was commenting this morning on the funeral, and I just wanted to say, Chief, we hear from the people who are not happy and the people who want to make changes and the people who really don't realize what the police do. But you know, across Canada, we have millions of people who appreciate everything that you guys do for us. It's only when there's a terrible incident like what happened in Toronto the other day, where people really put all their differences aside and watch and have the utmost respect for what our police departments do. So this morning, I just want to leave it at that. But Chief and Officer Phillips, you have a lot of support in this club, and you have an awful lot of support in our community. And thanks for everything you do. Thank you, President Dean. Thanks very much.
Thanks very much, Joe.
Thank you.
Thank you, Al. Now, I guess, Jen, you'll be presenting our speaker today.
Thank you, President Dean. Dave Phillips joined the South Simcoe Police Service in March 2003 after serving with the Ontario Provincial Police. Dave discovered a passion for policing while taking part in a high school co-op program in 1998. In 1999, Dave began his career in policing, first as a detachment guard, then auxiliary member, cadet, and then finally as a constable in Northern Ontario. After serving 4 years with the OPP, Dave joined the South Simcoe Police, assigned to Bradford in the Uniform Patrol Division. As a proactive officer, Dave's work ethic led to a 7-year stint in the Traffic and Marine Unit. There, Dave was involved in a variety of investigations ranging from simple traffic infractions to criminal and drug charges. In addition to proactive work, Dave attended and investigated countless serious fatal collisions. While in traffic, Dave received specific training in collision reconstruction, breath technician, drug recognition evaluator, search warrants, general investigative techniques, leadership in police organizations, to name a few. Dave returned to the Uniform Patrol Division in 2013 as an acting sergeant. In 2015, Dave was promoted to sergeant, working in Bradford in Uniform Patrol. In 2018, Dave transferred to his most recent assignment as an officer in charge of the Traffic and Marine Unit. Over the past 20 years, Dave has enjoyed the challenges of trying to make a difference in the community every day. Dave always has an ear and eye open for new ways to help identify and solve community concerns in an efficient manner. Some of Dave's contributions have seen the South Simcoe Police be early adopters of ticketing solutions, automated license plate readers, drug screening, and most recently, photo radar warning letters. Dave's new assignment sees him heading up support services. Support services includes overseeing traffic and marine, community engagement and mobilization, and community services and traditional community services. Working alongside an excellent team of officers, Dave is excited to work with and support the community in the quest to collaboratively find solutions to problems large and small while providing personalized service. Please welcome Dave.
Good morning, everyone. Barb initially had asked me to speak about towing. The thing is, right now, Ontario is undergoing a change in the towing policies and laws regarding having your vehicle towed at a collision scene. You probably all have heard horror stories of people having just absolutely outrageous tow bills from these car accidents. So the Ontario government has taken steps to place new legislation to control towing. That is all coming this fall. Some of the legislation's been passed, but we've yet to see it. So I don't feel it's probably a very helpful topic until we know what that's going to look like. A couple of things that you need to remember: it's your vehicle. You can have that towed by whoever you like, with the exception of a few circumstances, maybe like a stunt driving suspension, or if you're stopped for driving under suspension where your vehicle's being impounded. But if you're involved in a collision, don't ever feel bullied by any of these tow operators. If you have a tow company that you like to use, it's a reasonable request to have them. Feel free to call them, speak with the officer at the scene if you have any concerns, and the police will always happily direct you to hopefully a reputable tow provider. What I've decided to speak about this morning is collision reconstruction. I don't know if I can share my screen. I have a small PowerPoint presentation to go over.
Yep, feel free to share your screen. There's just a button at the bottom.
Okay, so the majority of my career has been spent doing collision reconstruction or in the traffic and marine world. Every year we go to between 6 and 10 serious collisions that happen in Innisfil and Bradford. You don't often hear about them, but they do happen very frequently. We have some roads in Innisfil and Bradford that are 80-kilometer-per-hour roads. They are opportunities for high speeds. And we tend to see a lot of our serious collisions on roads like Yonge Street, 10 Side Road, 5 Side Road, Highway 27. We're a commuter town and we have a lot of people passing through our area. So in this presentation, I'm just going to go over what we do when we go to one of these collision scenes. We often hear that you hear on the radio the police have the road closed for a serious collision investigation, and it's going to be closed for 4 to 6 hours. So I'm going to try to explain a little bit of why the road's closed so long and what we're doing and how we can determine how collisions like what you see here in front of you take place, and how we can figure out how fast people were traveling or what was going on. So sometimes we arrive at a collision scene and we'll get great evidence like this. I don't know how well my pictures are coming through today on Zoom, but the tachometer in this vehicle is stuck at just shy of 5,000 RPM and the speedometer is stuck at 150. This vehicle we were able to do this vehicle came in contact with a tree on Canal Road many years ago and was left like this. What you can see in the foreground of your screen there is the engine from that vehicle has been completely severed from the vehicle, and the driver received very significant injuries. Through some of our different techniques, we were able to log into the vehicle and download the airbag control module. And here we can see what corresponds directly with that instrument cluster. The vehicle was at 100% throttle 5 seconds before crash and was traveling at 96 miles per hour on Canal Road. So when we arrive on a collision scene, some of the first priorities we begin to look for is preserving evidence. We want to examine the roadway for tire marks, gouges, scrapes, paint. You'll often see fluid spills, and we can have an idea of how the vehicles were traveling when we see the direction of the fluid spray. We also want to make sure we can go over the friction of the road. So we have a couple devices for doing that. It's very simple actually. We have a piece of tire that we tow along the road, and we can measure the friction. We also have a very fancy electronic device that also allows us to obtain the friction of the road. Getting the friction of the road allows us to do calculations later on to determine speeds from skid marks. We like to round up our witnesses. Everyone's so busy now, and you'll see a serious collision. People are going around on the shoulder. Unfortunately, I think it's a sign of our society where no one wants to get involved. So one of our first tasks is to track down any witnesses that may have seen the collision. We want to know what they saw, what they did, if they moved anything. Often people will be at a collision scene and they'll pick something up, maybe like a shoe, and they'll come over to you, officer, I found this shoe. We can do so many different mathematical calculations about how items come to rest and where they came from that help us determine speeds. So we often partner with our fire services and our EMS and offer them some training or insight into what we're doing to help preserve the evidence as well. These first responders, they're here to help. They're here to save and provide first aid to the drivers and the victims of these collisions. And obviously, preserving life is our first priority. But if it can be done in a manner that doesn't interfere with any evidence, we always encourage that. So why do we examine the vehicle? We want to collect more evidence. So sometimes and often with impaired drivers, they'll take themselves and say that they weren't the driver. So we'll collect DNA from an airbag module or from an airbag or the steering wheel, blood. We'll examine clothing that was worn. We'll look for telltale mark of a seatbelt bruise across a body. These are certain ways that we determine where they were in the vehicle and who was driving. This is an example of a seatbelt. Our officers are trained in determining if a seatbelt was in use, and you can see that distinctive kink across the seatbelt. That takes a fair bit of force to happen, very consistent with a serious collision. And again, which probably won't come through on Zoom very well, is the clip of the seatbelt or the D-ring of the seatbelt. Often that plastic webbing or nylon webbing of your seatbelt will actually burn into that plastic hanger. And again, it's another good indication that a seatbelt was in use in a serious collision. We're finding seatbelt use is far better. When I started policing, it was very easy to write seatbelt tickets. Some of the more recent studies are coming out that seatbelt compliance is about 96 to 98%. We've gone a long ways. I think the auto manufacturers have done a great job with the seatbelt reminders that are very hard to override, and they constantly ding, and it's just basically drummed into people's head that it's important to wear your seatbelt. And I've seen seatbelts save countless lives. They are an important piece of safety equipment, and it's good to see people wearing them now. So back to that airbag control module that I showed you earlier. What can they tell us? These airbag control modules every year are starting to lock down more and more data. Some modules can give you up to 5 minutes of pre-crash history. So if you've got one of those drivers, you're on the 400 and that one driver's driving crazy, there's a good chance that a lot of that driving behavior will be captured if they're involved in a collision. This is becoming a standard thing. By 2023, all cars should be downloadable by a generic SAE style system. And right now, it's only a handful of ones that we struggle to download. But again, it's we're going to have speed, steering angle, how long you were on the brakes, if you're wearing your seatbelt, a lot of information that definitely helps us understand why the crash took place. So just here's another example of what we would look at. So here we have just an average download from a collision, and we have a vehicle here traveling 78 miles per hour, 2.5 seconds prior to the collision. And you can see that this driver was able to scrub off just about 20 miles an hour, 25 miles an hour of speed prior to the collision. We know drivers, when they are traveling, take about 1.5 seconds to see a collision or see something that you have to react to and begin to react. So again, this person here is traveling 125 in a 50 zone from what this crash was. And unfortunately, this is a lot of what we see in these serious collisions is people well over the speed limit. This indicates here that the seatbelt was unbuckled. Another great tool. We can confirm that by physically reviewing the seatbelt, and you'll see that it's consistent with the download from the vehicle. I spoke of roadway evidence. This is a collision from Highway 27 of a tractor trailer involved with a SUV. We're able to take those skid marks on the roadway and eventually work up a speed formula to determine how fast the vehicle was going at the start of the skid. Here is a different example of a roadway and why it's so important to collect evidence quickly. This is a collision on Highway 27. We live in beautiful Canada, where we have 4 seasons of weather, or 2 seasons sometimes, it seems. This is a collision, a serious collision, where we had a head-on collision that resulted in a rollover. And about half an hour after the collision took place, the roadway completely obscured itself in snow, making it very difficult to determine or collect evidence. Luckily, we were able to go back and review our photography that we'd taken earlier in the day to help us gain some insight to this collision. This is a collision I investigated on the 20th Side Road. Very serious collision that left a passenger without life-altering injuries, unfortunately. And we received a call about 2:30 in the morning of a vehicle found in the ditch, 20th Side Road in the second line of Innisfil. The driver had left the roadway. If those of you that are familiar with the roadway, this is looking south towards the second. You'll be familiar with this S-curve on the 20th Side Road. The driver left the roadway at this point here, just before the curve started. They traveled along the ditch and across the front lawn of this property, end up striking this hydro pole, which is to the south of the second line. This is a distance of about 150 meters to the second line. So the vehicle travels along, strikes this ditch, which acts as a ramp. It actually launches the vehicle into the air, back onto the ground, and then strikes the ditch at the second line. This allows us to use what's called a vault formula. The vehicle, when airborne, traveled across the second, actually striking the hydro pole 1.2 meters above ground level. A lot of our stuff involves mathematics and physics. We were able to do a mathematical calculation to determine how fast this vehicle was traveling when it took flight from the second line of Innisfil to that hydro pole. It's a Volkswagen Jetta. The vehicle struck the pole so hard that it knocked the engine and transmission out. You can see it at the base of the hydro pole. The driver's side tire and suspension was found 56 meters out inside that cornfield. So our officers arrived on scene. We began to do our investigation, collected the measurements. A fair bit of time is taken with survey equipment, measuring the distances that the vehicle traveled, where it landed. We conducted some search warrants as well. And we end up with all this information to go through. So this is an example of the mathematics. You can see there, Constable Jarvis, one of our collision reconstructionists, was able to do the math here, and he was able to determine a speed for the motor vehicle at the takeoff point, which was over 140 kilometers an hour, after he'd already traveled 140 meters off-road. Part of our search warrant process here was blood alcohol reading, and we ended up laying criminal charges. The driver did provide a statement to me. He was traveling 240 kilometers an hour when he left the road. Sadly, inexcusable incident involving drugs and alcohol. And it left a young resident of our community with serious injuries that she'll deal with for the rest of her life. When we look at these collisions, people always think the police are out to get them. Often that's not the case. We want to understand what happened. We want to be able to tell families, what we know or why something happened. And sometimes we uncover the innocence of people. Maybe we'll discover that there's a roadway design issue that, although it passed engineering and everything should work, we'll encounter things that we kind of find areas of our community that have higher incidents of collisions in other areas. We want to figure out why. And we provide feedback to the town or the county, or sometimes the province, hoping to come up with better solutions so these things don't happen. When we do lay charges, we then present our evidence in court, and we let the court process take over, and we figure out what happens at that point. There, the judge decides what they feel is a proper outcome and who is responsible. I'm going to open this up to some questions here. I know everyone has a busy morning, and consider this an Ask Me Anything of any questions you may have involving collisions and towing.
Okay, anyone have any questions?
President Dean, if I could, just before we open it up to some questions, and again, just want to thank Dave for taking time out of his day. He's Dave's currently working afternoons because he's our duty officer this week, so he's come into a week of some pretty late shifts. So to get up early this morning, Dave, appreciate you taking the time.
Oh.
I'm just wondering, Dave, if you touched on it a little bit with the with your presentation around the specificity to math and physics, and can you touch a little bit on the training that the officers go through and what's required? Because obviously this takes a fairly specialized role for officers to get to that level that they can do these sort of investigations. And then also just talk about, I think it's important for the group to understand the reconstruction team is not a full-time reconstruction team. They have other duties. So they are our traffic and marine officers. So that, when a crash occurs, they're called out to deal with that crash, but they also have other duties. So maybe you can share a little bit about that, Dave, as to some of the work that they undertake.
Certainly, our traffic and marine officers, they begin by coming into the traffic unit, and then it's collision reconstruction. It's a recognized field. It involves quite a bit of training. Basically, a lot of training that engineers would take part in to determine motor vehicle collision reconstruction techniques. You begin by a 1-week course that deals with the basics of collision investigation. That's a level 2 collision investigator. And there you learn the simple math formulas like slide to stop. And slide to stop is a very simple formula where we take the distance of a skid, apply the friction to a known formula, and it outputs the speed. So part of that course, you test that theory. And if anyone gets an opportunity to take part in our Citizens Police Academy, we do a live example of this where we skid a motor vehicle. We get someone in the group to use a radar to determine how fast the car was going. They write that number down and keep that to themselves. We then go out into the field and we show everyone how we measure that skid mark. We measure the friction, and then we do the math. And it's really quite an experience to do that with a big group of people, and show them how accurate that this mathematic principle has. And reliable it is. Often we are within a kilometer of the actual speed, which is just, it still blows my mind all these years later. So these are some of the basic formulas that we teach our aspiring collision reconstructionists. The next course is a level 3 reconstruction course. It can be up to 3 weeks long. And again, it focuses on just more of the collision principles. After you've successfully completed that program, you go on to a level 4 reconstructionist. And at that level, you're able to learn even more advanced mathematical formulas, conservation of linear momentum, which allows officers to look at incoming and outgoing angles of vehicles and determine a speed. And it's very, very advanced stuff. And again, it has a very high rate of reliability and accuracy. And these formulas, there's always new formulas being adapted and evolved in the engineering fields. From when I was first trained in 2007 to now, there's probably a dozen new formulas that we can use. And again, these formulas are worked out by engineers and published in papers and are widely accepted in the scientific community. So our collision reconstructions, as the chief said, they're not full-time. They're traffic officers first. When a collision takes place, they come out in a team of 2 to 4 people and begin their accident investigation. Often these collisions don't take place on the nice sunny days. It's late at night, windy, snowy, you name it, and our officers come out, and this is a position that they apply for. It's a position they want to do. You can't make someone do this stuff. It takes an officer that wants to do it to do a great job, and we're very fortunate to have many seasoned collision investigators here at South Simcoe that we work with. And it's again, it's been a career-long thing for myself, and some of our other officers as well. And I know Barb will know many of them over the years. There, you've been out and seen us at work there, so it's a very interesting career path or opportunity for me and my fellow employees. We enjoy it very much. It's nice to provide answers. Our collision reconstructionists, we work we work with the family, for the family, to provide answers, and it's nice when you can do that.
Great, thank you. I know how tough crime scenes can. Well, I don't know how tough crime scenes can be, and scenes can be. But my uncle is a crime scene videographer, doing pictures and reconstruction videos from different cameras to put crime scenes back together. And I know the toll it can take, having to see things like that. I understand it's not easy. But did anyone else have any other questions? Al?
So, Dave, I know from experience that many traffic investigators who, I'm talking about the old days now, okay, but who investigated fatalities and serious accidents went on to switch over to criminal investigations and investigate homicides. And the key there was that to investigate a traffic fatality and a serious, the meticulous investigation and the note taking led to using that same technique in investigating homicides and serious crimes. So it wasn't unusual for traffic guys to become good detectives.
Oh, certainly. You know, if you look at, we're very fortunate. We live in a great area. You know, we don't investigate homicides every day, but these traffic collisions are often said that it's basically a homicide with a car. So a lot of the techniques are very similar. We're writing warrants nowadays because the presumption is to get a warrant for now just about everything. So our officers become very good at writing warrants, developing new investigative techniques, deciphering evidence, linking stuff up. We've had some very complex cases lately of failed to remains that involve, you know, even more investigative effort than when we have all the pieces to the puzzle. So yeah, I agree. I've learned a lot as a traffic investigator. And the other thing I find with traffic, you know, it's quite common that as a traffic officer, you're writing traffic tickets, and traffic tickets lead to traffic court. So you learn, you know, you become an expert in court as well. And that's, again, another asset to these detectives that go on to criminal investigations, certainly.
President Dean, if I could ask a question.
Sure, go ahead, Barb.
Has the revenue gone down since I've learned to drive properly and use cruise control, Dave?
You know, I think it's kind of interesting. With COVID, we saw a large uptick in speeding.
Really?
And traffic complaints are becoming, you know, a very hot button topic. And I often pat the chief on the back and say that our number one concern is traffic. He must be doing a good job, because I'm sure in other communities, traffic is not their first priority or their first concern. You know, it's funny. We get a lot of traffic complaints. We investigate either reactively or proactively about 9,300 traffic-related issues a year. We have around 2,000 direct traffic complaints. Sorry, I have a new puppy that has come into the room here. Let me just.
Well, you should show us.
Come here, Isla. I don't know if everyone can see her.
Oh,
Lovely.
If I can just expand a little bit, if I could, Dean, just on what Dave talked about, is that, you know, with the world of reconstruction, we had a recent incident where sadly a young man died in a vehicle parked in a parking lot. And, you know, the immediate presumption was that it was a drug overdose, that he must have been, you know, doing something and overdosed. We pulled in Dave and his team and said, can you go take a look at it? Because things just aren't adding up for us. And sadly, just again, from their expertise and skills, they were able to pull that car apart and identify that he was driving an older vehicle, and the exhaust system had actually broken and the pipe was pointing directly up into the bottom of the car. So while he was sitting in his car trying to sleep and stay warm, he was filling the car with carbon monoxide. And they were able to get all sorts of other examinations and blood tests and a bunch of other things done. And they were able to actually put the family's mind at ease that sadly he died by misadventure, not from killing himself or from a drug overdose. So, it's that ability to provide answers to families and let them know what the real story is. And we all signed up for this job, not to necessarily run out and give traffic tickets or deal with barking dogs or loud complaints. We love to investigate. And it's, it's often been said to investigate the death of another person is the pinnacle of your policing career, and to be able to bring that closure for the family. So I know our investigators do that each and every day, and it's just continues to amaze me.
What I also wanted to say, Dean, was that I had the opportunity, because of my position on council and also then subsequently on the police services board, to do a few ride-alongs. And I'll tell you, I think every citizen should do that or have that educational experience, because I do have one heavy foot. It's much heavier than the other one, and cruise control has been my friend. But I met more of the South Simcoe police officers in the car than I wish to. But when you go along with them, the kindness shown by traffic officers to people as they're writing a ticket is amazing, because I sat in the car and watched them and sometimes heard them. And the opportunity for education is always number one, it seems. And I think that's a really good thing. And it was some years ago when Staff Sergeant Wilson was, we were up at the 2 mile turn at Big Bay Point, and he'd been pulling people over going way too fast on that. And then he pulled over another car and he came back. It was the first time he hadn't written a ticket. And the gentleman and his wife had just celebrated their 50th wedding anniversary at Davidson's, and they were on their way home. And he had just heard from his wife that he was going too fast. So Steve didn't think he needed to tell him again. And wish them well. That's the kind of thing I think people only hear about bad things, but traffic officers have great big hearts.
Well, I can agree with that. For every ticket I write, there's probably a caution along the way for sure, easily. And you can genuinely tell when people are either having a tough day or it's a one-off. And a lot of it goes. What also helps that hard part is when it's reciprocated on the other end. When people are decent with us, it's very easy to return the favor. And again, like I said, our traffic complaints, they're up with COVID. I think a lot of people are at home. They're being more aware of what's going on around them. We're developing some new techniques. And again, you talk about cautions and stuff. We're doing a project in Bradford right now that sees us using photo radar to send out a warning letter. And we're going through some of that information right now to try to learn how to develop better processes and systems for providing traffic enforcement, traffic support to our communities. And it is disappointing when I think the last one was 28 letters went out, 26 went to an address in Bradford. So people speed in their own community, and I think it's unfortunately a sign. And it's probably you guys are a community-oriented club, so it would resonate with you. As I think unfortunately it's a bit of a loss of community sense in our communities, right? People are, we go to calls nowadays. You go to a townhome. Who lives next door? I don't know. You share a wall with these people and you don't know who your neighbors are. Well, how can we expect people to respect each other on the street if they don't know who their neighbors are? And it's something we want to look at in some of our different traffic committees. How can we build some community spirit to hopefully make the community look after itself? I always say, if I have to have a police officer on your street to make your street function, we got a bigger problem. So we're looking at those ways of how we can engage the community to take care of itself.
Well, I'm going to have to cut it off there. I'd like to thank you, Dave, for coming out. We do have some other business to go over before the end of our meeting. You're more than welcome to stay if you'd like. I know you just finished afternoons and probably want to get a nap in before you go back.
I'm sure the chief will update me on any news there from your meeting, but I appreciate the opportunity to come and speak to you. And like Barb says, I encourage anyone to get involved with the police department any way you can. Come out and see us when we have our community events. We know the the public appreciates us. The media doesn't always remind us of that, but when I go into a store or I'm seen in the public, we get the thanks all the time. We really do appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So now we have to talk about some old business before we get dug in the bottle drive update. Let's get a quick update for Beer for a Year. Tim?
All right. Yep. Beer for a Year. We still have lots of members that don't have tickets. So we got to get those tickets out there if you want to sell them all. Like, it's an opportunity to make $10,000 this year if we get the tickets out and get them sold. So every member has to get tickets and every member has to sell tickets. Like, farmers market's great, but it dwindles down too because everybody's gone to the market, has bought tickets already, and it's the same patrons that go there almost every week. So we may try Tangiers this weekend or whatever if we have people that are volunteering, because I know I can't do it this week. So, but we got to get everybody involved. Like, I have 11 people out of our club that have tickets now. So we got to get everybody involved. Like, I mean, everybody, not just the few that normally sell tickets, but everybody's got to get involved in this opportunity, because if we want to do a bigger draw, we got to have more support from the club and the people.
And I'll add to that really quickly. As per my email that I sent out the other day, I unfortunately cannot do the farmers market this week, and Jeff just indicated that he can't either. So could I please have somebody committed to setting up the tent? Is there any people, could we maybe get 2 strong bodies to do that?
I know I'm working and I come tear down and help towards the end if people are available to set up this week.
Oh, Tim, I'd be glad to set things up for you and maybe go at the end and tear it down, but I just can't stay during the day. I'm sorry, but I will definitely set things up.
Yeah, I could probably get there towards closing as well to break down, but again, so because I think right now I only have a couple. I think Jen, I think you're booked in for the end, right? I think I saw that. Am I...
Like,
Yeah,
like
that's
Dean,
right.
I can come at the end and help out. I can't do it up until after 4 o'clock. So.
So anybody that can come for 12:30?
I'm unfortunately booked solid with clients right through the day. So sorry. And plus my kids are moving in.
Tim, what are the hours?
It runs from 1 until 6, but we need to be there by 12:30. They don't want us setting up while the market begins.
And that's for this Saturday?
No, that's through Thursday.
Thursday.
Tomorrow.
Tim, I could come over my lunch hour and set it up. I just can't stay.
So that sounds like Jen and Al could set up. I think I'm booked for 2:30.
Tim, Warren says he can help set up and stay for a couple hours.
Thank you so much, Warren. I really appreciate that.
I have, yeah, you know.
Do I pick the stuff up or what?
Where is it? Well, we'll offline. We'll talk about how.
Yeah,
to get
connect
there.
with me. I have stuff, but Jeff, what about the tickets? Can we get them from you?
I can get you tickets tonight, no problem.
Thank
As many as you want. I only have 1,000 or so left, so.
Okay, we just need to make sure that they're physically at the market.
Yep.
And everyone else can, if they can make arrangements to see Jeff or Tim to get books and tickets to sell on their own. If not, Jeff will drop them by your house.
One last thing I can add to that is I've been setting up other schedules for the concurrent weeks. Unfortunately, with our license of Club Rotary, I can only set up 5 different events. Eventually, we may want to consider purchasing a premium license to allow me to do more, because we obviously want to schedule both the bottle drive and the farmers market. So it'd be nice to have all that, but I have to keep deleting events to create new ones for us to be able to do this, which is annoying. But we can take that to a business meeting issue.
Absolutely.
Dean, is there any opportunity to set up at a like No Frills or Sobeys? Like, I know I've done that in the past, in the Bradford Club, and I think we've done it in the past too in Innisfil here. And you might get more people buying tickets at a grocery store than you would at the farmers market, because those are different people that go in on a weekly basis also, but they may want to buy tickets.
I can reach out to Kevin at Sobeys and see. I know he was gung ho for us to do it last year and was even going to donate some barbecue stuff for us. So I can reach out to Kevin, see if that's available.
Okay, that'd be great.
I'll shoot him an email today.
If I can, Dean, I think, and I'll get Al to jump in on this because they spent a lot of time at the farmer's market last year, and it does get saturated after a while. It's the same people coming back week after week to the farmer's market, and they've already bought a ticket. They're not interested in buying another one. So, after a couple of weeks, we might want to reconsider whether there's a real value in being there for that period of time versus going to a Sobeys for a couple hours one evening.
I agree.
That's correct. That's
It was the
correct.
same thing last year. After a while, it was just me pretty much pre-booking people over and over again. So, yeah.
Well, with restrictions lifting, more and more plans are being done. We heard from John Broussard on the weekend at the bottle drive that as of August 6th, Ontario is lifting all restrictions. So there will be no restrictions, no limits to gatherings and stuff as of then. Hopefully that goes through. But I know more and more plans are coming through. We'll talk about that shortly. But anything else for Beer for a Year before we turn over to Doug to do a follow-up on the bottle drive?
Can I suggest Tanger is probably a really good spot if we can get to the farmers market. It's the same people, but the farmers market has more foot traffic that is different. That
When
might
is
be
that?
Fridays, right?
Yeah, but I wouldn't do Thursday and Friday. I would do Friday maybe every other week, and Thursday every other week.
Yes.
I would not do it every week.
Absolutely.
Let's look into planning that out.
Okay.
Because it's the same market manager. It's the same person.
Different crowds, people.
It's Jamie or Jamie. I can't remember her name. It's
Jamie, yep.
Okay, we need to reach at her.
There's also a farmer's market in Thornton
On Friday.
on Friday afternoons.
That's good to know.
Perfect. Well, let's turn over to Doug. We're running short on time. Doug.
Good afternoon, everyone. Just want to give everyone a really quick update on how we did with the bottle drive, can drive on the weekend. As everyone knows, we had 3 different locations. The primary one, which is on Innisfil Beach Road at the Innisfil Community Church, did fantastic. I would say probably about 70% of our income came out of there. The second site, which was at the Legion Hall in Belleurt, it was about 30%, which really leaves not much for Cookstown. Barb and Warren headed up Cookstown, did a great job. There was some stuff out of there. I want to say a 150 to 200 bucks out of there. All in all, we actually cashed in so far about $1,400 worth of empties. So that's significantly down from where I was really hoping to generate this first kick. However, I think we learned a lot of things from this experience. Anybody that was on the meeting on Monday night, we talked a lot about what went right, what went wrong, what will we do differently next time. So I'm really excited to say, as long as we can fill up a roster full of volunteers, we're going to do this again. And we really think that we can at least triple the amount of volume that we get out of this. We're really going to change some of our advertising ways. We're going to do some sign posting and do more advertising. We're going to continue with the Facebook and other such social media, obviously keep driving that forward. I think a lot of people just raised awareness and they were aware of what we were doing and they're ready for next time. So when they see it next time, they'll be much more enticed to get out there and bring those empties out or call us ahead of time so we can go and do the pickups. The sites for the next one, I think we're going to continue with the Innisfil Beach Road, Innisfil Community Church site. It's a great site with great visibility, lots of space for parking, moving vehicles around. It's a very safe site. The second one that we want to chase after is the parking lot in the Stroud Arena, which I think is also another great site. And at this point, we're only going to go with the 2 sites on the next event. And the next event, I want to say August 8th? 7th.
August 7th.
Whatever the Saturday is there, I want to get my dates right. So we're looking for volunteers to help drive that. Our goal is to drive $5,000 worth of empties. We also need to really advertise that we take cans because everybody talks about a bottle drive and many people came to us and said, do you take cans too? So we need to change our message a little bit and work on that. But I think the biggest thing that we need to drive now is, do we have enough volunteers to go with the 7th? If we're not in the position to have enough volunteers to go on the 7th, then we need to reevaluate. And the last thing I just want to throw out there, and I think maybe Dean, you'll probably wrap this up towards the end, is the third potential date is in September, but it also potentially coincides with the district conference. And now that we know the district conference is 100% go in person, we need to find out how many people are planning on going to it and if we have to move that date. So that's the quick update. Any questions? It was great. We had a fun day. It was so great getting out and seeing everybody face to face and meeting some of our newer members. Paul did a great job with me doing a drop off. It was a lot of fun. Past President Ann.
Yeah, could I just say something? First of all, I'd like to recognize Sharon, who's joined our meeting today. Sharon is the lady who donated bottles in honor of her late stepfather, who was a 40-year member of the Rotary Club in Warwick, UK. I also want to mention, I've talked to Howard. Howard is excited about us being there on August the 7th. And we wanted to mention to the club that we considering pulling the train out for that occasion and getting people to donate to the food bank at the same time, having the train in the parking lot at the community church. And I'm dealing with the town. I just have to let them know pretty soon if we can cancel the other locations, which it sounds like, for August the 7th, and just go with Stroud from the town. And I also have to let them know what date we're going to go in September for the locations and how many locations we may need. So thank you.
Okay, I think the September date, for August 7th, I know myself, I'm going to be away. Past President Ann is going to be away. So we're really relying on everyone else to volunteer and step up for this. Quick show of hands, can we rely on people to come out to that date? 1, 2, 3, 9 of most of the club. So yeah, if we get 4 or 5, we're also changing the times. We're not going to run as late. I think we spoke 8:30 setup, 9 o'clock start, done by 3 o'clock. After 2:30, it kind of got off and slowed down anyway. So thank you. We'll go ahead with that. I think for the dates in September and the spots, we may have to wait to see how these 2 spots will go again. I know the church will probably be well, but we got to see how Stroud's going to work out for us.
Yeah. Thank you, President Dean. I will let the town know that we're waiting, to book them tentatively for us, but on the understanding that we may have to cancel some of those locations.
Yeah, in regards
to
dates, as Doug said, conference in Timmins is a go. Does anyone know if they are going? 1, 2, Doug's half and half, Susie's half and half. Okay, I figured probably 5 of us may be going. So
President Dean, excuse me, but there is an email in your email box, your inbox this morning from Margaret Walton. There's a list of things they would like. I don't want to take all the time because you have it all in writing, but it really will be a make or break conference. And if we don't do well, we lose money, and we know Rotarians don't want to lose money.
But they have to, Barb, that email, obviously.
The entire, we should have it. Everybody should have it. But if you didn't get it, ask me and I'll forward it on to you. I'll forward it to you, Dean, anyway.
Resend it to the club anyway.
Oh, I can do that.
Please and thank you.
You're welcome. And the other question I had about the bottle drive, as I understood it from the meeting, we're not waving a flag over the amount of money, just we had a great day and all that sort of thing. We were just going to leave the dollar figure off the media and so on, just so
Absolutely.
that
leaving dollars out and just talking about how great the community was and their support for us.
Right.
Tim sent what I approved yesterday. Michael?
So who do I e-transfer the money to for what I already taken back?
You can do it to myself, or I can get you in touch with Chris Hoagie, our accountant.
Thanks.
And President Dean, we're also making donations as well, right, to the food bank?
Yes. So Tim, if you can work on changing the signage up from last time, food drive, or bottle drive, donations, bring non-perishable foods for the food bank, and the dates.
No problem. And sorry, between Doug and Jeff, did we decide who was going to be the person providing the forecast signs?
I'm swamped right now with stuff I'm doing, so.
So Doug, are we going with your guy?
I don't care. This guy said he could turn the signs in about 4 days.
Okay, so let's
I
just do that then.
totally do.
I mean, let's just, Jeff's busy, so that's understandable. It's, so
I just,
go with your guy. I'll get you the vector.
Tim, we'll
Okay,
talk
actually-
offline.
Send me the information. I'll deal with him directly.
We'll talk offline. Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you. We are running short on time. I want to turn it over to Susie really quickly just to discuss our small harvest dinner meeting. It looks like this should be a go and we should be open time for it.
Yeah, thanks, President Dean. We had a good meeting the other day. Our committee kind of had a chat about it. So quickly, well, there's a few things. We're looking at a date for October 2nd for the harvest dinner, if possible, with the library. Past President Ann's going to reach out to the library and find out if the dates will work and if they will allow it. If not, we'll find another. Oh, go ahead, Ann.
Yeah, I have talked to the library and they're still meeting and determining what their fully opening dates will be. They won't be able to let me know for a week or so as to whether that is okay, but they have put us down on the agenda for that date for the harvest dinner.
So they'll consider us. That's wonderful.
Yeah.
A couple of asks. I'm going to send follow-up emails to a couple of people in our club just to see if we can get some support there. We once had Debbie Savick work for us and get our first gala going, and I wondered if she could help us out with a few items there. Thanks, Deb. Just asking. I'll send you an email of what we're looking for. And Sharon and Jeff Hellings did our bar last time. Wondered if you guys would want to revisit that. Good, thank you. And Tim, if we could also perhaps at some point get a virtual ticket made up so we could sell them as well virtually the way you're doing it with the other tickets. So
100%.
that's my asks for now. The other committee members have a few jobs to do as well. And we're going to reach out to Max King, who was our past chef, and see if he's interested. So that's, oh, and we talked also about the gingerbread house contest. If we can get that on the docket for hopefully December 4th, November 27th, that time frame. And I'll reach out to Beatrix Mueller again as our judge. So we are super excited about events happening in person and can't wait.
Yeah, if I could just say, when I talked to the library about the gingerbread competition as well, and asked if they could coordinate it, if they are open, to coordinate it with their Christmas event as well.
Yeah.
So again, Wendy will advise me as soon as anything is firmed down. She says they haven't even started thinking of Christmas yet. But
No, but thank you for getting
if there's going to be something going on, they'll definitely give us the space as well.
Perfect. That works out. And hopefully that we can have Santa Jeff back again. And oh, he's got thumbs up. We're good.
Got the beard now. That
Take off my list. He's got the beard already.
I'm working on it. It's just not the right color quite yet, but it's getting
We
there.
can fix that. We can fix it. Thanks,
We
guys.
don't have time for good news today, but Sharon, thank you again for coming out. And I know Doug wanted to close us out with our learning quarter this week.
Thank you, President Dean. I just wanted to throw out something. We hear often, it can't be done, it's too hard, it's going to take too long, it's too expensive. There's always these excuses. And I just sort of want to remind you, it's very timely. 65 years ago, there was a young man who was playing with Cheerios boxes, gluing them together and making spaceships out of them and pretending to be an astronaut. And over his lifetime, he's probably heard at least 10,000 times, that can't be done, you can't do it, you're not smart enough, it's going to cost too much, it's impossible. Well, now he financed, he designed through his own engineers, he built with his own developers, and he flew with his own flight crew. At 71, Sir Richard Branson flew into space on his very own rocket-powered ship that he took up on an airplane. And when he returned to space, I don't know if anybody saw this, it was incredible because our very own Chris Hatfield, who is a local boy right from here in Oakville area, pinned a set of astronaut wings on him and the rest of his crew and said, welcome to a very elite club. And I mean, Chris Hadfield had done his own International Space Station training and everything else. And here's a man who did this all through his own hard work, perseverance, fundraising, etc. So if you ever sit back and, you know, you listen to people say about how it can't be done, think about that, that pin that was put on Sir Richard Branton's chest of a set of astronaut wings that he actually generated through his own hard work and perseverance over the years. So in closing out, whether you think you can or you think you can't, either way, you're probably right.
All right, if anyone else had anything before I close the meeting today. Janet?
Just a quick note that upcoming, watch for this, the Learning Academy is going to be, Learning Institute is going to be coming up starting in September. So probably in August, we will be putting up the notification of that for everybody to sign in. So hopefully we can get some more of our Rotary Club members part of the Leadership Institute.
All right, on that note, everyone have a great day.
Bye all.